Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's in between. We're in the 30s, so that's better than 19. So we'll wait and see if we can do better than that. There are a bunch of things going on. The first thing I'd like to talk about is A.G. James. It turns out that she had sent the letter to Trump's accounting firm, Mazars, and they, from that point on, got suspicious that 10 years of figures might not be accurate. And their statement that they had to step back from it because basically a conflict with their client, which is Trump and family, suggests to me that they may be cooperating. That is to say, to avoid accusations of failure to conduct due diligence to know these things were false, they nevertheless submitted the statements they did. Now, I haven't seen the documents. Most of us have not seen the documents. Very few may have seen the documents. But one of the questions, if you're the accounting firm, is did you submit documents yourself that contradicted? For example, did you submit documents that said this property was worth a lot when you were trying to get a loan? That is, Trump was trying to get a loan. And then that same piece of property you say is worth a lot less when you're filing tax returns, and it determines how much less tax you pay because of the value of the property. So I think that's a real problem. The question is whose signature is on it, and you know, the old Watergate question, what did you know and when did you know it? It's hard to believe that you make that error without conversations and worksheets and so forth. And it remains to be seen whether Mazars is getting any special consideration in terms of fees and penalties and admissions and cooperation and stuff like that. But since the investigations that do something are a sieve, if we're patient, we'll find out exactly what did happen. Palin is interesting because the judge, who I know, we were assistant U.S. attorneys together, Jed Rakoff, great lawyer. I haven't been in touch with him, and certainly not since he's been on the bench. Not that there'd be anything inappropriate with that, but Jed decided to direct a verdict based on two things. One, that Palin was certainly a public figure, and two, the test, therefore, was actual malice. That is to say, the New York Times would have to have been found to have done what they did with actual malice to hurt her. And the testimony we've heard is to the extent there may have been any errors, they were mistaken and they changed them by the very next morning. As for her being a public figure, all you have to do is probably look at her platform. That is to say, in public space, whether it was Twitter or whatever her public platform was at that time. And she did have a PAC, a Political Action Committee. So it's not like she was flat-footed. And the idea in these cases is that if you have the ability to sustain an attack and to come back, then we have a tougher standard as to how you're going to prosecute the case. Now, no matter how this works out, that is to say, if the jury should decide differently than the judge who decided it based on a knowledge of the law and the facts that he'd seen in his courtroom, there's going to be an appeal anyhow, because this whole thing was orchestrated, in my opinion, to test Times against Sullivan, which is the origin of this test for a person being found to have written something libelous about a public figure. So there's that. It's very interesting about teachers. Teachers across the country are making, well, two basic kinds of decisions. Some are in Black History Month finding course curricula to teach their students aspects of the difficulty this nation has had with racism. And so, for example, we have some who are being shunned for saying they're black and they're proud. This is a This is one example of several that I read about in the Post today. And another was studying how a person of race compares in an economic status with a person who's white. And then one teacher decided that she couldn't teach the history of civil rights. And I may have mentioned before, there was at least one teacher in Loudoun County, where I am physically in Northern Virginia, and she didn't think she could put together a program for the month. So if original forecasts were true, we would have war in Ukraine tomorrow. Putin's dance, having now 150,000 troops, suggests he's still going forward, or he's using this as a major intimidation to get something other than what we expected he wanted. And it is possible he'll wait, if he's going to do it no matter what, when the Olympics is over, in deference to his colleague in China. So that's about all I got today. We'll talk more tomorrow. In the meantime, have a nice time. Get out if you can. Nature is warming. We're approaching the extended day. All the best. Bye-bye.